Hello, and welcome back to the Haven Homestead Podcast, where we learn and grow together on our way to living more sustainable lives. My name is Chris, and this is episode 50. That's right, we have 50 episodes in now. And today we're going to be talking about permaculture. I'm going to give you a 3 or 4 part series on permaculture, just kind of an intro. I just taught a class on the generals of permaculture. It is called Intro to Permaculture at the Centralia College. This is my first class I ever taught at the college, which was kind of neat. They gave me a room and projector and computer and everything to use for my presentation. And then right after that, we had a seed starting class. And I think it went pretty well. It seemed like the information was accepted, and everybody seemed to have a good time and were very gracious, at the end with compliments and saying they enjoyed the class. So today we're going to be discussing what I prepared for my lecture at the Centralia College. I spent like 4 days this week getting this presentation ready for the class, so I feel like I spent a lot of time on the computer, and here it is, the last day of the week, and I'm finally getting the podcast put together. I feel like such a slacker, but sometimes, life gets in the way. In fact, Diego Footer just put out a email about life getting in the way, and I had this week off. Just a little bit about what's going on. I had this week off from my regular job because it was indeed my last week at that job, and I started a new job on Monday, which is the same day that Lindsay gets her LASIK surgery. So those of you that didn't know she was getting LASIK, other family members, I guess you can consider this the announcement she's getting LASIK. So that's kind of exciting for her. She's had glasses since the 4th grade, and soon she won't be needing those anymore. And then we're going on a trip to the Philippines in a month. So we've had a lot of things going on this week. And then Lindsay and Liam and I had a cold, Emma a little bit, but I've been able to stay ahead of it through vitamins and supplements to keep my immune system tip-top shape. So I haven't come down with it, thank goodness, not yet. But it's been a crazy week. So here we are. We're getting this taken care of. We're gonna get into the world of permaculture. But before we do that, I just want to remind you about our sponsors, Happy Leaf LED, and that's at happyleafled.com, and they have the Anywhere Anytime Garden in a Box, which is a kit that you can get for $65. And it includes a 4-inch grow light and USB power supply, the suspension tools to hang that light, a timer for the light, 4 black plastic net pots that go in the top of a jar, has the clay pellets, which is the growing medium, the hydroponic nutrients, and the seeds. So all you need to add is the jars, 1 quart wide mouth mason jars, and water, and you can be growing indoor passive hydroponic system for $65, but you also get a discount 10% if you use the promo code FRIEND in all capital letters. That's again FRIEND in all caps for 10% discount at Happy Leaf LED. And I often forget to mention this. I need to put it on my notes for the advertisement, but they always have free shipping. So you don't have to worry about it being a reasonable priced LED light and then unreasonable shipping. That's one thing that I always try to look for when I think. So free shipping. They're a great company to work with and really, really nice people. So head on over there and buy your Anywhere Anytime Garden in a Box today. And when you go to the checkout, please put Haven Homestead Podcast in the section where they ask where you heard about it. That way they know that we're sending traffic their way, and they keep being our sponsor. Also, please remember to head on out to our website at havenhomestead.com, or if you want to follow us on social media. I've had some really good follows lately, people saying they enjoy the podcast, and I really, really appreciate it. It really makes me feel happy, and like this is actually reaching people. We had 150 listens or something to the last episode, but I usually don't only get 1 or 2 replies or or emails or Instagram or Twitter follows. So I'm just going to let you know where we're at on those. YouTube, we are Haven Homestead. Facebook, we're Haven Homestead 2009. Instagram, The Haven Homestead. And Twitter, we're at Haven Homestead, just plain old Haven Homestead. I think that's all of our social medias. And last but not least, please consider becoming our patron at Patreon. That's www.patreon, spelled patreon.com/Haven Homestead, and you can support the show for as little as $1 a month. I think I'm going to be getting rid of that $1 a month though and going to $3 minimum. But still, I think that's a heck of a deal. It's cheaper than a cup of coffee, and you can help people all over the world. That's who we reach. We reach international audience. Live more sustainable lives. I mean, this is really what the work is all about, and we love every minute of it. So let's get on to the topic at hand, which is permaculture. Intro to permaculture. That's where we're going to be talking about some of the ethics and general topics. Then we're going to get into later in the next few podcast zones and sectors and energy cycling and biodiversity and stuff like that. So first, let's get right into the topic at hand. So about permaculture. The word permaculture is from and this has come right out of Intro to Permaculture book by Bill Mollison. So the word permaculture is taken from the Latin permanens, meaning to endure or persist through time, and cultura, referring to cultures coming together as permanent cultures, or permaculture. Permaculture is an interdisciplinary design science in the field of sustainable system design. Bill Mollison's 1978 definition of a sustainable system is: sustainable is defined as a system which over its lifetime produces energy equivalent to or in excess of what it consumes. So that is still the most quickly, grasped. It says remains the most succinct and quickly grasped. It's hard to say to date. It's kind of some people, I kind of balk at the idea that you can produce energy in excess of what it consumes, because that's like a perfect machine is a 1-to-1 ratio with how much energy it provides with how much energy it uses. But we're trying to make it even more energy efficient, that you are producing more energy than you're using, I guess more energy than you're putting into it, because you get energy from things that you don't have to, passive systems like the solar or wind or the rain or something like that. Those are passive systems you don't have to really worry about, but you want to make sure that you're trying to make it more productive than it could be if left alone. All right, so there are 3 ethics that permaculture operates on, the 3 overarching principles, and some of these are a little bit controversial to some people, but right here out of the book, where Bill Mollison, he made the ethics, so he knows what the heck he's talking about. The first ethic is care of the earth. Second is care of species. And 3, return of surplus to the first 2. So we are going to just call it earth care, people care, and return of the surplus to the first 2. In the book here, it talks about care of the earth means care of all living and non-living things. Permaculture is a science, a design science that tries to mimic natural systems in order to increase productivity. So I like to explain it like this. If you go into a forest, there are lots and lots of diversity, lots of plants, lots of fruit, lots of growth, lots of abundance, abundant life everywhere you look. What we try to do is make that abundance with edible plants and plants that support the edible plants. Care of the earth, which is the first ethic, means taking care of all things, all living and non-living, like the dirt, taking care, making sure that it stays healthy and vibrant, making sure that all the different species that you are the steward over, making sure that the air is not all polluted and nasty, making sure that the waters stay clean and pure. We try to make the world a better place, a more clean place, a more productive place through our interactions. And a lot of stuff, they say observe and interact. Observe is the first part, and that is the part that I think a lot of people, I know I have a hard time with just observing and not doing something, but really taking a look, step back and looking at what the earth already has provided for you is going to get you in a good spot to do what's right. And then if we are able to observe that, we can make an educated movement or calculated movement, I guess you could say, in the right way, that you're not just going out there and like a herd of elephants crashing through the underbrush, which is, I think, a line from Jungle Book. You're thinking about, now, if I take this tree out, this will open up the air and the sunlight for this amount, this area. And if I take these two trees out, what will the impact be? Or if I take these bushes out, what will the impact be? Or if I plant trees here or plant bushes here, how big will they get and what will they shade out? Or, what will they block wind? Will they block something that you don't want to see or something you do want to see? Things like that. So it's very important to think about every move you make. Now, the second ethic is care of the earth, or the second ethic of the second ethic is care of people, because we're one of the species, care of species, but also other things, other animals and plants. But so we're going to say care of people helps us to make helps to satisfy our basic needs of food, shelter, education, employment, interactions. This is an important principle because if we can take care of ourselves and help take care of other people, this is by like maybe giving some of your surplus food that you produce to the food bank, or maybe that's one option, or maybe inviting people out to your garden to show them how to do permaculture, or teaching classes, or any of this stuff is all about taking care of people. If you have a really good farm, really good permaculture thing going on, and you are able to help provide income for somebody else, then that is also a great thing you can do. And Paul Wheaton has a lot of good information on making money through permaculture. Joe Salatin is a really good example of making money with permaculture practices. And Jack Spirko is also someone who, he has a lot of good podcasts on cheap ventures that you can start to be more permaculture-y. Jack has a lot of good, he really inspired me in a lot of ways to start doing this podcast, and I want to take more lessons from what he's done and to improve our podcast so we can help other people, because we're really working on that second part the most. We're doing the care of the earth here at our place, but we're really trying to do care of people through the podcast. That's kind of our focus. And if all of our needs, if we help each other and we become more sustainable as a people, then we'll have less need to destroy wide swaths of land in order to grow food, because we'll be growing a lot just at our place. Bill Mollison said something about like, if we grow, if everyone tried to grow even 10% of their diet on their own property, that we would have food shortages would no longer be a problem. I don't remember exactly what it said. It's maybe what I took away from it rather than what it actually said. But it was something like that. If everyone could just grow 10%, could you imagine if everyone just grew 10% of what they consumed on their, or around there, or in their house? It would be a whole different world. That'd be a paradigm shift on a big scale. And I don't get too ideological or try not to get too preachy, but man, I think that would be just something else if people really would start taking responsibility for themselves. I think that would be huge. So the third component one is return of surplus to the first two. That is surplus money and energy and time to take care of the earth, take care of the people. And it says right here in the book, this means that after we have taken care of our basic needs and designed our systems to the best of our ability, we can extend our influence and energies to helping others achieve that aim. Now, we don't have to be giving away everything. You know, when I did that intro to permaculture class, I was talking about the permaculture design course. I said, a lot of people take that third ethic into thinking that means that everything should be free for everybody. If you've ever had a friend, and maybe you were the person, I don't know. It's hard to say that about yourself sometimes, but I knew people that were given vehicles in school. Like when we were in high school, their parents just gave them a car. And if you gave your kids a car, I'm not knocking you, I'm just saying that this is something that I've noticed, is that the kids who are given things do not value them. I had a friend who had a van, and that van he jumped it. It was so trashed, but it was free. I think his parents even paid for the gas and the insurance, of course. So, and some kids get given pickup trucks and they don't respect it. So I really feel that a PDC should be paid for in one means or another, but that you value the things you work for. And some people really, I think, expect everything to be free. That is not sustainable. That is a way to leech off other people and not a sustainable practice. So that is the end of my soapbox for today. The permaculture system also has a basic life ethic, which recognizes the intrinsic worth of every living thing. So a tree is something of value, even if it has no commercial value. It's alive and it's doing a lot of important things. It's creating biomass, it's creating oxygen and carbon dioxide, it's sheltering animals, it's building soils, it's shading or blocking wind. It's, there's so many things that even just one tree is doing, that to think it has no value is absurd. And one of the overarching topics you'll hear through permaculture a lot is cooperate with nature. Don't compete with it, or work with, not against nature, because it will win every time. I think that's also a good way to look at our lives and our communities too. Cooperate with your neighbors, cooperate with your community, cooperate with the land and the climate, and if you try to fight against it, you're going to be using a lot of energy, meaning money, time, effort, in trying to fight against something that's a much bigger force than you. So it's important to learn how to live with that sort of thing. I think that will about cover what we're going to be talking about today. We'll be getting into location and zones next week. Zones, I think, could be a whole podcast in itself. We'll see what the location, how we get on location. Maybe we'll just do that for one section, and zones and sectors on the next one. But we're just covering the first chapter of the Intro to Permaculture manual by Bill Mollison. I really think there's a lot of good information. That's why I'm going to make it a 4-part podcast and try to cover as much as possible, because I really think that getting this information out to people is very important. And if you have any questions about anything, go ahead and shoot me an email. I'm happy to answer. And if I don't know the answer, I'll look it up and get that answered for you. But I hope that this podcast has made sense to you. If it hasn't, maybe give another listen. You hear the ending, and then maybe the first will make more sense. There's just so much information here. It's hard for me to put it all into a linear, cohesive statement or one podcast. So once again, those 3 ethics: care of the earth, care of people, return of the surplus to the ends of the first 2. We'll give you more intro to permaculture. Permaculture is such an amazing thing. It can change the world. In the meantime, before I get the next episode out this next week, look up Greening the Desert. That's something that Jeff Lawton, a project he's been working on in Jordan, and the Loess Plateau. That is Loess, I think. Loess Plateau, and that's in China. And that is another area where broad-scale permaculture has changed the life of millions of people. And that's why I want such a worthwhile subject that we really want to talk about. Thanks for listening. This has been another edition of the Haven Homestead Podcast, where we learn and grow together on our way to living more sustainable lives. Thanks for listening.